it's Damien from Marketing Food Online. So tonight's video, I got a really, really important message for you guys. It's actually going to answer a question from one of my clients. I've got printed up here on the paper. I'm going to get right to it right now. And it's something that you all need to definitely listen to. It's a message about how to succeed when you're first starting out and what it takes to get it up and running. Guys, all right, so as I mentioned in the introduction, this video is going to give a really super important message. It's not only about the food business, but it's about entrepreneurship in general. And I'm going to talk a little bit and touch on some notes of some of the experience that I personally had starting my business from scratch and building it up to a six-figure a year business. And what it has taken to actually get to that point. The one thing that I've learned along this journey of over close to 11 years now is since I started working for myself and being self-employed and being an entrepreneur and really coming up with ideas for food products, trying to market it, trying to kind of wear a lot of different masks at one time because you're going to be inundated with all kinds of different responsibilities. The one true important message that I have actually picked up over the past 10, 11 years is that you have to stick with it. It is not something that will not happen overnight. And I know that you've probably heard that from a million people. But the one thing that I've learned that has brought me to where I am today and the success that I've been able to experience is that I didn't give up on it because it just seemed too hard or too challenging. You're going to constantly be learning, and one of the most important aspects of being an entrepreneur is actually learning how to learn. And I know that may sound a little redundant or a little weird if you haven't heard that expression before, but when you start to be open to learning and understanding that this entire process of being an entrepreneur and having your own business is a process of learning. That is all it is. And you can build on that in however way you want to. But when you first start out, you have to understand and be patient with yourself and know you don't have all the answers. You're not going to have them up front. The process of learning and making decisions and them not working out all that great, learn from it and then keep making decisions is something you're going to do every day, every week, every month, and every year. So don't get discouraged if you start a business and you're expecting to become a millionaire in like a couple months. That's not how business works. That's not reality. The reality is that you're going to go to an event, you're going to go out and you're going to try to sample your product, you're going to try to go to farmers markets, you're going to try to open an e-commerce store, and it's not necessarily going to fail. It's just that it's going to take time for that to manifest any type of profit that you're looking for. You need to test out some different scenarios, test out different products. You need to be a salesman. You need to learn how to pitch your product. You need to have websites that have information on it. So where are you going to come up with that? You're going to create listings if you're going to be online. You're going to learn how to create effective SEO, optimized listings. There's going to be a lot of stuff that you're really going to need to do, but you're not going to understand how to do all of that right off the bat. I can tell you right now, I wasn't. 11 years ago when we had our Italian bakery, it was a brick and mortar bakery, and it had nothing to do with the internet. I was not selling anything online. And to tell you the truth, I barely understood how to even turn on a computer because I was not computer savvy at all. Fast forward to where we are now, and we operate multiple stores. I've got multiple blogs, and I've handled all of the development of that. And now we have YouTube channel, the Marketing Food Online here. All of these videos, everything, the production side of it, I do all of this behind the scenes myself, along with my wife. But did I know how to do all this? No, it didn't happen in one day. So let me get into the question really quick, and there's a really important message that I'm going to give you in this question when I start to answer it, okay? So this was actually for one of my the clients that I'm consulting right now, and she went to a vendor event, and her question was that at that specific event that she went to, she was kind of barely able to make a profit at it. So she went over some fees, how much it cost. She also covered how much she made, and she wanted to know if she should continue to do these types of events because that first event or this specific event wasn't very financially profitable. So I'm going to get into the rest of the question, but I'm going to stop really quick right there. I'm going to tell you what I have experienced and what I went through. When my wife and I got into, there was a chain of stores here where we live, at Fresh Markets. We actually were in Fresh Markets. I spoke with a buyer. This was a few years back when we first just started. Spoke to the buyer. We were able to get our candy in the stores, and they gave us 9 stores. We thought this was amazing. We were jumping up and down. We were patting ourselves on the back, but we hadn't sold anything yet. Okay, they simply gave us the stores and told us, look, you're going to need to go and demo your product at these stores, and you need to be there every weekend, because part of the stipulation, part of the contract of being a vendor for them, being a local supplier, is that you had to promote your product. And we had to, when I say you, we had to actually do that. My wife and I went every weekend. We normally hit 2 to 3 stores and then rotated every other weekend, okay? So we would go there for anywhere from 1 to 2 hours per store, Saturday and Sunday, okay? The reason why is that we had to hustle our product. We had to get our product out there. As you know, Whole Foods, Fresh Markets, all these stores have thousands of products. So nobody knew us from Adam. Nobody knew our product. Nobody's ever had it. So we had to go there with about 3 to 4 dozen bags of product to be sold, right? We had to replenish the shelves. We had to fill up their shelves with product, okay? This is before we even sold anything. So we were already putting money out in the production of the product because we make our own. We have our own brand. So we made our own product. So we had to make it in advance. Nobody's buying anything yet. We got no money. And by the way, we had a net 30, or net 60 actually. It was a net 60 payment plan. So we did not get paid for this product until 2 months later, okay? So we were fronting the money for the product, our time to demo it. Then we had to bring boxes of samples because we can't open up the packages that we want to sell. So we had a big box. We had to pre-make this candy in advance to give it out for free. So what does that have to do with your question? It has everything to do with your question, because you went to this event and you sold some of it. You didn't exactly break even. Maybe you were a little bit short. You didn't make a big profit. Okay. But the fact is that event is going to give you the first bits of experience, the taste of what it's like to go to an event, to promote your product, to hustle your product, to present your product. You have to cut the path for your product. You have to create that. It doesn't happen for you. So when you go to these events, expect, yes, of course you want to make a profit, but don't get me wrong. But also don't get upset or don't get discouraged or don't feel as if this is not something you want to do because it didn't pan out enough financially for you. What I've noticed is when we first started and I began to hustle our product and I was out there sampling, I'd walk around the store even giving out samples. Hey, go check out our table. My wife is up there. Here's blah, blah, blah. We're locally made. We lost money. We lost money month over month when we first started. But what we lost financially, I gained an experience of what does it take to truly be an entrepreneur. If you're going to grind this out, if you're going to really want to do this, you really need to put the time into doing it. You need to do another event and keep doing them because it's going to give you an opportunity to get feedback about your product, interact with your customers, begin to build your brand. And by doing that, you have to be out there. You got to not necessarily give it away, but if you break even, that's awesome. That's actually amazing. Most companies, when they first start and they go to farmers markets and when they're first starting, when they're literally the first few months or maybe even 6 months into it, it's great if you could turn a profit, but most of the time you've already invested a lot of time and money up front to get to where you are 6 months down the road. You got to look at it almost like you're investing in the stock market. I wouldn't doubt it if somewhere along the lines of your lifetime you've owned a 401k, you've had stock. What are you doing with that? You're giving somebody money up front with no guarantees that you're going to get money. Potentially, you could lose money. You're not even going to break even, but you'll lose it. But you have the faith enough in it that you think that it's going to give you a return. So you every week, every paycheck, you keep giving them money. And I know this from experience because I did the same thing. I had the 401k with the retail stores I worked for 20 plus years. I know how this works. And you give them the money every month. You're putting money into a 401k and you keep buying a stock and then you see it go down. Then you see it go up. Same thing with you going to an event, okay? Go to the event. You're going to see your profit. Sometimes those events you're going to make a whole ton of money. Sometimes you're going to break even. Sometimes you're going to lose money. Sometimes you're going to make some more. That's really not the overall objective of your business when you first start. It's not. The idea is you got to build brand awareness. You got to get your product into people's hands. The idea is you got to get people excited about your product. Then the money will come. But it's not going to happen at the first, second, third, maybe even fourth event. Because I say that because some events are even smaller or bigger than others. You could go to the first event, you got 100 people. With all due respect, 100 people is nothing. Okay, it's nothing. It's a great opportunity, like I said, to get some experience with it. But 100 people, that doesn't necessarily mean 100 people bought it. Okay, every time I went to a store and I sampled my product out, I had probably close to 1,000 people come through the front of our table. And maybe 100 people tried it. And out of 100 people trying it, probably 20 of them bought it. So how much did I make in one day? I spent a couple hours and I probably made a couple $100. I mean, that's not bad, but of course the idea is that it wasn't $1 million. Was it discouraging? For me, it wasn't. My wife was a little different. She was telling me after a few times, she's like, "Why are we doing this? This is not working out." I don't think that way, and I don't believe that way. The way that my mind works is that I look 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, and I want to be where I am today. And it took 10 years to get here. Now, yours may not necessarily take 10 years. Don't get me wrong. You could be there in a year. You could be there in 6 months. Everybody's path, everybody's road is different, okay? It just depends on how determined you are and how passionate you are about your product. Now, you also mentioned that you got a lot of people. This was actually good. This is a huge thing, by the way. A lot of people had complimented the product, so you feel confident about your product. The most important attitude you're going to have about your business, selling a product or a service, the most important is not the profitability of it, not the ease of how it is. Maybe it's easy to market. Maybe you get a compliment. Is your belief in the product, your belief in your business. Because it starts with you. If you really want to have a business and you really want to do this as an entrepreneur, don't look for other people to believe in your product because they're not. Okay? Don't look at other people to believe in you because they're not. At the end of the day, people say nice things, but they're not there at 2 o'clock in the morning because you have a great idea and they're going to be pushing you. Hey, you need to get up and you need to write that down, make a note. Hey, you should get up and you need to make some steps towards creating what you're doing at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. All of that stuff, that self-motivation, that self-belief in your product and in your business needs to come from you to start. And once that happens, you're going to attract people. People will come to you because of the strong belief you have in yourself and the strong belief you have in your product. I'm not going to get into some huge motivational speech here, but I am going to tell you that no matter what you're selling, if you're not even doing food, if you want to start an electronics business, start an electronics business. But if you don't believe enough in it yourself, don't expect other people to do that, okay? You have to have a rock solid belief. 3 years down the road, this is where I want to be. 5 years down the road, I'm going to be even bigger. 10 years, I'm going to have a staff of people working for me, or maybe 2 years, or wherever it may be. But you have to have that vision for it. Don't dictate your what you're going to do from that point on. Don't let that dictate from this one single event, okay? Don't let that dictate from 4 or 5 events. You know, if you're a year down the road or 2 years down the road and you're really not seeing some gravity, you're not seeing some movement in your product or even your business, then you can sit down and say, you know what, maybe I can go a different direction. Maybe there's something else I can go in. But first month, 2 months, first event, second event, fifth event, don't determine how your business is going to be based upon the experience of just your first, second, or third event. Don't do that, because you should really absorb as much as you can from customer feedback. Absorb what people are saying about your product as they taste it. Maybe look at it and get some feedback. You know what? The packaging is not that eye appealing. These are the times to experiment with the product and to get some real world reaction from it. And then you can go back to the drawing board next time. Maybe change it. Maybe your labels may be different. Maybe your recipe, whatever it may be. I saw that when I was at the stores as an experiment for us, something like a beginning where I could figure out what would be the best thing to go from here. Because a lot of people said this about it. Some people hated that about it. So play with it and kind of go with the flow when you're first starting. Don't expect it to be a determining factor whether or not you should pursue the rest of your business. If it's like I said, a year down the road, you give yourself a timeline. You know what? 8 months from now, if I'm not where I think I want to be, maybe I should change direction. A year from now, if it's not profitable, maybe there's something going on with the pricing, maybe the packaging, maybe your approach. Maybe you don't want to be in retail stores. Maybe you want to be online. So the other part of this is being online. You had mentioned this as well. So you were looking to, if it's not working out locally, to go ahead and attempt to do it online. Now, the only drawback to that is, as I mentioned in a lot of my other videos, is that if you're new to e-commerce, there's a little bit of a learning curve. There's a lot of things you need to understand and learn about how to sell online, because putting up a website and a product is not going to automatically make you money. That's not how the internet works. And you're not going to be found on Google. So you want to be on some of these other platforms like Etsy or eBay or Amazon and go from there. But keep in mind that you're going to have a time frame from the time you post a product, okay? Let me put that down. So the time you post a product and create a listing, there's going to be a time frame that you have to promote it. You got to market it. You can't just post it and let it go. Nobody's going to buy anything in that short period of time. You have to optimize your listings. You got to make sure that your pictures look beautiful, your descriptions. There's a lot of other factors. So simply by going to an event locally and making a judgment call that, you know what, maybe this isn't for me, I should be online, you're still going to have, if you're not familiar with e-commerce, you're going to have a time period where you're going to be learning, and that means no sales. So stay local, start local, continue to do what you're doing, get a feedback for it. We're now in spring right now, right? So spring and summer, there's a huge amount of events, jazz festivals, art festivals, wine festivals, food festivals. It goes on and on and on. Hit as many of those as you possibly can, and then from there, build up your business and your experience running the business, okay? So hopefully that gives you a little bit of some real world experience from myself and a little bit of motivation to not give up on it just because, as you mentioned, you didn't do too good in that specific event. Don't let that dictate what you're going to do with your business. Keep going to those events and keep pushing your product out there. It takes time for it to really manifest and to come true. And I'm a big believer in the way you think is pretty much how your life pans out. And if you don't have enough of that focus or enough determination in yourself and your product, you might not want to be an entrepreneur. So I hope that helps you out. If it did, as always, please do give me a big thumbs up. If you have questions about this, do let me know down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.